Hi everyone, if like me you enjoy PvM, you'll find your bank naturally progresses upwards and your gear upgrades over time. Increasing bank value and obtaining better gear is one of the most fun parts of old school for me, but nowadays with so much variety and new endgame gear, it can be hard to choose between different items. This video is going to cover rebuild strategies that focus your GP into one of the 3 raid level Megarare items while keeping useful minimum gear in the other styles. Choosing between each rebuild is up to you, and as always I'd recommend tailoring your build to the content you most enjoy. Before you begin any Megarare rebuild, make sure you take the time and spend GP if necessary in order to pick up max combat stats, and at least 92 prayer. Combat stats are extremely important, and many of the endgame items scale particularly well with stats. In general, combat stats beats gear in terms of upgrade value, so don't be afraid to spend money on chins or barraging or bones if you're not quite there yet. Going for 99s in strength, range, mage, all matter a great deal in endgame PvM. At current prices, a Tbow will set you back 1.5 billion GP. The primary reasons for doing a Tbow rebuild would be an interest in challenge mode chambers or the infernal cape. In both of these places, the Tbow is an excellent upgrade that is super fun to use. Here are some of the secondary reasons for a Tbow rebuild. And note that Tbow is not necessarily best in slot in all of these bosses, but still highly effective. The Tbow does not require much gear to use, and helm, boot, and ring slots do not add much value to the overall setup. I'll cover more about these slots in just a moment. For the Tbow rebuild, I recommend this minimum gear for melee and mage. A Dragon Hunter Lance is a major pickup for this build, and is a necessary one if you're planning to do raids 1. It's great for solos and teams alike. You can add either a BGS or a Warhammer. Having one of these at least, and ideally both, is recommended, since a lot of content requires defense-reducing special attack weapons. The Osmanton's Fang is another good melee upgrade, and this one comes in especially strong if you want to do raids 2 or 3, and works well alongside a tent whip. For your mage gear, you don't really need that much, but prioritizing an early Sang plus Virtus top and bottom will take this base setup to the next level. Sang Staff is particularly useful at raids 1 for no prep raids. You don't really need a mage helm, boots, or ring. One big mistake to avoid when investing in range gear is buying Pegasian boots, Archer's ring, and Armadillo armor. These items provide range accuracy but not range strength, which barely affects your overall DPS. If you happen to own these items, consider ditching them in favor of stronger, more effective items. Replacement boots include D'hide boots or Devout boots. Replacement rings include Lightbearer and Ring of the Gods. For armor, Unfortified Masuri contains all the damage bonuses of Fortified with reduced defensive bonuses, making it a great intermediate upgrade before buying Fortified down the road. If you're looking to learn chambers, I do recommend We Do Raids Discord, and you can find mentor raids or get into team raids with their matchmaking channels. Link to their Discord is in the description. The Scythe currently sits at over 550 mil GP. It's the cheapest of the 3 Megarares, but still a strong weapon. The primary reason you would do a Scythe rebuild is if you're interested in grinding raids 2, the Theatre of Blood. Tob can be a great team raid to farm, and generates consistent GP. The raid is much more punishing than Chambers and ToA, but if you want to challenge or enjoy improving as a player, this raid can be extremely fun. Personally, it's my favorite raid. Unlike raids 1 and 3, it's not really soloable, and you'll need to find teams in order to make use of this rebuild. If you want to learn TOB, I strongly suggest checking out my new Tob Learning Discord. It's brand new but already has over 3,000 members, with nearly 100 mentors and helpers teaching raids every day. From there you can find teams and continue farming Tob to the fullest. The link to that Discord is once again in the description. Here are some of the secondary reasons for doing a Scythe rebuild. Once again, you are not limited to these specific bosses. Considering the price of Scythe, it's a no-brainer if you're interested in Tbow. Otherwise, it's a decent choice for a variety of pet hunts and Slayer. Scythe is a particularly interesting weapon, and has breakpoints for max hits. This means at 99 strength and potted, it's important to reach certain melee strength levels. The major one is 131 strength, and this gives you a 48 max hit. This breakpoint is the early goal of the Scythe Rebuild setup, and this max hit can be achieved with this setup. It's ideal to play to the strength of Scythe setup with other good melee gear, including Fang, Warhammer and BGS, as well as a lance for chambers. The range and mage setups can be extremely budget, but remember to obtain Elite Void on all styles if you plan on learning Tbow. Last but not least, it's the Shadow Rebuild. This weapon continues to fluctuate in price, but at the time of this guide, it's sitting at just over 1.3 billion GP. The strength of the Shadow lies in its ability to 3x increase, or 4x inside ToA, the magic accuracy and strength of any stats from gear. The primary reason for the Shadow Rebuild would be Raids 3, the Tombs of a Mascot, as the Shadow receives a bonus damage inside the raid. Raids 3 remains the most profitable raid on average, especially at higher invocations. If you want to learn ToA, check out the ToA Resources Discord. This raid is soloable, and this Discord provides you with all the information you need to do so. The link again in the description. Here are some of the secondary reasons for a Shadow Rebuild. And a reminder, you're not limited to these specific bosses. Starting with Virtus instead of Arams is very important, and Ancestral is extremely strong as an upgrade with the Shadow. The setups for melee and range once again don't require too much GP, but a natural upgrade path for ToA will include an early Bofa and Crystal Armor for a medium to high invocation. You'll want to keep a BGS as a priority over Warhammer for this particular rebuild, with a Fang being a necessary pickup since it excels at ToA. Make sure to pick up a Lance and a Warhammer if you plan on doing chambers. The Shadow is unfortunately not good at Tbow, being beaten by a regular Toxic Trident, and is only really useful in a max F speedrun setup. Eternal Boots also remain a weak item even with the Shadow bonus, and typically aren't worth running. The same goes for the Seer's Ring, although the Magus Ring can be a relevant upgrade. Each rebuild has a great potential for a variety of content, and with a focus on their respective raid. Make sure you spare some GP for supplies, I recommend about 25 mil. And don't rush buying an item without the base gear for other styles. A lot of these prices will fluctuate over time, but it's important to remember the strength of the items will likely remain the same, so don't worry too much about GP, and commit to a rebuild to farm the content you enjoy. You'll make a ton of GP just by raiding and having fun with the new OP weapon you just picked up. And that's it! Let me know down in the comments which rebuild you would prefer and if you've done one yourself. I think my personal favourite is the Scythe Rebuild. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more releases, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss out. As always, a like and a comment helps me out a ton. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.